Hey, how we doing? Ilknierim here. Thanks for stopping by. But it's July 3rd, a little bit before 7. I thought I'd give you a garden tour. You know, the sun's about ready to pop up over these trees, so let's get on with this. So, last night, I think I got some footage of this. I'm going to throw bits and pieces in through this video. But I planted a couple zucchini. They've been in those pots for a while and they weren't doing all that great, so I figured, you know what, I better put those in the ground. And then we got these volunteer cantaloupe. They are volunteers, but I relocated them here. I relocated them all around this place. You're going to laugh when you see where all they are. This is my mutant tomato. You know, he's got leaves growing off of where the blossoms are. I believe it was supposed to be a cherry tomato, but it's got huge blossoms. And I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's got a limb growing out of the middle of that leaf. At least what I think it's a limb. And then we come over here, and I ain't quite sure what those are. I'm thinking they might be cucumbers. I got them from a volunteer patch at my mom's house. I thought I was grabbing watermelons. I did get some watermelons, but those and quite a few other ones are not watermelons. But there's the volunteer pumpkins. You've seen me plant those in an earlier video. I'll show it to you. You know, it's the one that I just put out that I recorded a month ago. We got 2 more volunteer tomatoes. I believe those are cherries. And then we have my attempt at a hugelkultur mound that is incomplete. Yeah, that's my attempt at a hugelkultur mound. I just haven't put no manure or topsoil or anything on top of it. We're going to let that grass and leaves and sticks rot for a year before I do anything with it. And in the meantime, I'm doing a couple experiments, and I'm going to let all these cantaloupe grow up and over the top of it. And you're going to laugh when you see the amount of cantaloupe I have. For some reason, I thought I'd throw down a handful of seeds and only a couple of them would sprout. Yeah, that's not the case. So we have some cantaloupe there. Over there by the kitten, we have I think she's even sitting in the corn. But we have 3 of these air pots that have Beef Master tomatoes, along with that milk jug has Beef Master tomatoes. Underneath, I just threw down some dirt. We got a watermelon, 2 cantaloupe. We're going to see if that works. I threw down a handful of cantaloupe there, and I transplanted a watermelon there that died, but only a few of those came up. Looks like something's eating them. I threw a handful of cantaloupe there, and it looks like 20 of those popped up. So I took a few of those and threw some dirt up here and threw those in there also. And the row that the cat's sitting in. I have a cantaloupe and a tomato there. There's a little story behind that tomato. I'll throw in a clip of that.
This was a sucker I broke off and just stuck in the dirt. No rooting solution, nothing.
We have corn and cantaloupe just sporadically planted. And what you've been waiting for, the straw bales. I'm using grass as mulch here. I'm too lazy to weed. But I'm doing a little experiment. I threw a little bit of dirt in the straw bale and threw a couple seeds in it. If you're wanting to plant seeds in straw bales, you need to put a little dirt, otherwise the seeds get lost in the straw. I planted 2 corn seeds and threw a cantaloupe in there for shits and giggles. A couple cucumbers that you guys seen me plant in my last video. This is a cherry tomato. I grew it from seed. I put some lettuce in here because someone said you need to try to grow things every year. 3 new things a year, I believe is what they said. Lettuce is one of them for me. Seems to be working in here. It's going to get hot soon. I don't know what's going to go on with it. Oh, in between these 2 straw bales, I threw a handful of seeds. We got some mushrooms growing out of the straw bales. This is one of the volunteers I took from my mother's house. I believe it is a cucumber. I hope it is a cucumber, but I don't know. I originally thought it was a watermelon when I grabbed it. This is one of the volunteer cherry tomatoes, I believe. This is 2 of the watermelons I grabbed from my mother's house, and 2 cantaloupe, nope, excuse me, 2 cucumbers that I grew from seed. A handful of cantaloupe in between those 2 straw bales. And I threw another handful of seed in between those straw bales, and a couple of those came up. I ain't for sure what that little guy is. I believe it might be a cantaloupe. This is a cherry tomato. I put a volunteer in this spot and it died off. I had to replace it with something that I grew from seed. A little watermelon I got from my mother's house. There's 3 cantaloupe I threw in there just because I can. This tomato, it was a cherry. It was a volunteer that I picked up from over there. You see that spray bottle? It's the only thing that I use in this garden to deter bugs, and it's soapy water. It's for the squash bugs, and I seen it also worked on the Japanese beetles. So we're over here at the second row of straw bales. So I'm once again hoping that is, wait a minute. That looks like it's a watermelon and a cucumber both. But yeah, those 2 plants right there are volunteers from my mother's house. I do believe that is a watermelon and a cucumber. But I have 4 peppers planted in this 1 straw bale. That's a watermelon. I don't think it's going to make it. That's a watermelon from my mother's that I threw in between those 2 straw bales. This tomato here is a Beef Master. I ain't for sure if that little guy right there, I believe that is a watermelon. I ain't for sure if he's going to make it. I believe that is the cucumber from my mother's house. Once again, I thought it was a watermelon when I dug it up. 2 cantaloupe with some mushrooms there. That's nice looking, ain't it? This tomato here, it is a Beefmaster along with that one.
Let me show you what I do to these tomatoes to put these cans on them. It ain't much.
And another cucumber that I originally believed was a watermelon. You can see my volunteer pumpkins have taken over. Hidden in there is a volunteer tomato plant. I ain't for sure what this one's going to be. And over here, this guy has had a rough life. It came up and the top of it got broke off, so I decided to let two of the suckers grow. And then they got broke off. So I let a sucker grow off of the sucker, and this is what we got going on. I'm just playing around with it. I believe it is a cherry tomato, by the way. So that is all pumpkins. I have got some squash bugs on them so far. I've peeled off about 20 sets of eggs, and then I've killed probably 4 adults. And the sad thing of it is, the squash bugs like raspberries and blackberries. Yeah. But I attempted to do another row of corn back here, but I think only 5 or 6 of them came up. It's sweet corn. I want to say it's like a 40 or 50 day sweet corn. I'm killing off some more grass for the pumpkins to take over. That's what this is all about. But I put 3 more cantaloupe and another tomato clone. Let's go over here to my volunteers. The edge of the pond, of course. Yes, I know I need an aerator for my pond. But we have a volunteer tomato, or excuse me, we have volunteer watermelons down here. I've seen 2 of them on there already. Let's see if I can get zoomed in there in editing. So this guy here was a volunteer tomato. I believe it's a cherry. Actually, I know it's a cherry. I'll give you a shot of those here in a second. But yeah, this back here is where I throw all my composting stuff. I don't know. It's just easier. Throw it on the edge of the pond, dig it up when you need it. And what'd it give me? A tomato and a watermelon this year. Well, it looks like the cat's been in the strawberries. Got a lot of these strawberries from my mother's house. She had an issue with the strawberries overgrowing her raised beds, so I dug these up out of the ground. Looks like I got a berry there from my everberries. I believe a lot of them I got from my mother as June berries. I got a lot of cantaloupe planted in here, if you can't tell. I got 3 Beefmasters and a mystery tomato in here. Another cluster of cucumbers. Those are all tame blackberries.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed what I showed you.
And you have a great night. See y'all next time. Remember, get off your butt and do something, even if it's wrong.